I'm ready, guys. We'll get going in like because obviously you guys know Beth's out, but we'll get going in like 10 minutes. All right, and then we'll rip through everything. I'm just still doing a couple things that I need to do on my end for this morning, and then yeah, we'll go. Alrighty, guys, we got going in just 1 second. I'm just going to grab a glass of water and then we'll rip it up. Alrighty, guys, let's get going. So if you guys are new to chat, have already done so, make sure to check out that Discord link that is emailed to you. You pop into chat, it's going to look something a little bit like this. You come in from the free Discord, guys, you do need to leave that server and then come in using the Discord link emailed to you. Otherwise, you won't be assigned the new rules, so you can see everything in chat. Now, Beth's out this morning, which is why we waited a little bit longer to get going, just because I would have to fill the air for like an extra 25 minutes, which don't have too much to say, but we're going to go through everything that we typically go through. Guys, if you're new to chat, like I said, new to chat information section, scroll up to the very, very top, give it a read from top to bottom. Most important sections at the beginning when you look at the new to chat information, disclaimer section, risk reward. Click on this, guys. Risk reward, super important to understand how it works. I built a full section for you guys so you can learn how to apply it. You do have this risk reward video right here explaining how risk reward works, made by yours truly, 20-minute video, but extremely key to profitability and trading. If you want to be profitable trading, you need to understand how risk reward works. You need to be able to apply it, and you need to apply it with extreme discipline. You can't make money unless this ratio is skewed in your favor. It's just mathematics. So go through this section, watch this video, go through these risk reward profiles, find one that matches to your account size as well as your risk reward threshold. I've built a ton for you guys to go through, and then you can use these profiles in conjunction with the risk reward calculator, so you can calculate risk reward on the go very quickly as you are trading. Continue to scroll down. You have the summary of how this chat works, breaks down all the channels work on the left-hand side, so you can properly navigate the chat throughout the day. Below this, we have the options, we have how to read alerts on the options and equity side. Pretty straightforward in that regard. Interpret what we're actually saying. Options rules below this that we use Monday to Thursday in regards to controlling risk, scaling and scaling out trading different price contracts. We'll also have the SPX rules that we use every single day right below that. Give that a read if you're going to be following along on those ideas. Anyone with a small account less than 10K, if you have a smaller account less than 10K, here's some rules, information, discipline you can put in place to have a better chance of growing that account. And lastly, how to pick trades from an options directory perspective if needed. And then the high conviction small account areas, which again, if you have issues picking trades, you can just follow along there, one or two trades a day. And that section's actually been very good lately. So keep an eye on that. All right, pre-market tickers on watch, guys. What do we got going on today? A couple different things. Tesla gapping down, or sorry, should be gapping up now. A little bit of a bounce this morning. So we know what happened. Elon sold around, as of late, November 4th, filed some Form 4, sold about $4 billion worth of Tesla stock, which tells you about the weakness last week. Stock's gapping up a little bit, still extended to the downside on the daily. We'll talk about that from a technical perspective. Axon, nice little gap up. Earnings beat EPS and revs year over growth 34.4% 2022 guidance on raised EPS raised. Master MSTR gapping down, a continuation with the Bitcoin volatility. Meta bars 11,000 employees, gapping up on that. Nice, cutting some costs. RBLX earnings miss EPS and revs, gapping down. UPST gapping down on earnings. Let's take a look at these names from a technical perspective. Intraday, first two we're looking at today, guys, Tesla and Axon. So let's have a little bit of a look here. All right, I'm just going to move two things around and then we're good to go. All right. Tesla and Axon. So Tesla, a little bit of the gap up from last day. Let's see if we can get going a little bit more today. We do have a extension on the daily still, as we can see here. I do this level as well, not low. Let's go back in time. Let's take a look at this intraday chart. Some support lines there for you. A little bit of the extension on the downside still. Downtrend is broken in the short term. 195.34 is going to be your pivot to the upside today. Level holds 198.72 to 204.02. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 190.84 to the 186.27 level on the downside. Overall on Tesla, going to be leaning bullish, neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if that pivot point is reclaimed. Pivot point's going to be a big area to get back above. So that's what I'll be looking for. It needs to reclaim that level for me to want to be leaning on the bullish side. Let's take a look at this AXON. Nice little gap up off of the lows around 165 a share. So let's take a look at this. $166 pivot to the upside today. This level holds 168.50 to 171.80 will be tested. Unable to hold 162.57 to 159.74 on the downside. Overall on Axon, going to be leaning bullish neutral, looking for a continuation push to the upside today if the pivot point's able to hold. That's Tesla. That is AXON. MSTR and Meta. Let's take a look at this. right, so we're coming down into this range support on the daily. Obviously, you can see the uptrend's broken there below EMA support. Watch that pivot point today. It's gonna be an important level. It is going to be opening up, extended to the downside, so that's notable. 198.18 pivot. This level is able to hold to get room back towards 211.61. The 222.74 unable to hold 187.37 to 177.30. One on the downside. Right now, I'm going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side, looking for continuation lower. If the pivot's unable to hold, obviously keep an eye on Bitcoin as well. Should be an interesting chart. Got a lot of range either way, so this should be good trading on this one. Meta, nice little gap up. Finally, we're seeing some decent news and some decent price action on it. Now, a couple different things we got to be paying attention to. Obviously, there's the gap area. Got to get some levels here, and I got to go back in time. I believe it's 105s is where we start to see some more resistance. Okay, let's take a look. Yeah, 105 exactly, 107.77, 10.96. I got a misprint candle there, so it's gonna be a little bit ugly to look at, but you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna flip it over to a daily just because it's a lot easier to look at. Okay, so pivot to the upside today, guys, is 102.60. If that level is able to be reclaimed, we got room towards 104.89 to 107.95. Unable to hold 99.53 to 99.60. That 102.60 level is huge. Why? Because it's the beginning of the gap. So getting to the gap, you're not going to have as much resistance to the upside, and it can get going with a little bit more momentum. So we'll see if it holds up this morning and gets into the gap. If it does, we get some more room to push. All right, that's MSTR, that's Meta. Let's take a look at the next two. We have RBLX, UPST. So RBLX guys gapping down, of course. We are getting close to those all-time lows. Not quite there yet, but we're getting there. 32 share, so pretty significant gap down into this range here. $33.08 pivot levels able to hold. 34.58 to 36.43 will be tested. Unable to hold 31.79 to 29.63 on the downside. Overall on RBLX, going to be leaning bearish neutral, looking for a continuation lower if the pivot point is unable to hold. So we'll see what happens in that regard, but looks bearish to me. Looks like we're going to see continuation there, and that's what I'll be expecting today. All righty. Let's see what else we got. Pip, all-time lows on UPST. I gotta do some fibs. Let's do that. $15.97 pivot to the downside today. Levels able to hold. You got room towards 1756 to 2001. Unable to hold 1420 1 to 1290 12 sorry 67 on the downside will be tested. Overall on UPST going to be leaning bearish, looking for continuation of the downside today if the pivot point is unable to hold. All right, so that's that. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG here. So market guys, let's take a look at that daily. Let's bring that up. Let's link this chart here. So what do we got going on? So market obviously trying to hold the 50 EMA at the moment. It is currently below it. Actually, well, we'll just call it testing it because it's not really below it. $380.44 is gonna be your pivot to the upside today. Level holds 383.30, sorry, 383.88. The 386.99 will be tested. Unable to hold, we look for a pullback towards 378.05 to the 376.15 on the downside. We'll have to see, how, what other news comes out today, but for now on the market, actually be leaning on the bullish neutral side today. You got a little bit of uncertainty and the market's still staying pretty strong. We also do have CPI data that's going to be coming out tomorrow. So we'll see how the positioning goes into the end of the day. But right now, I'm going to be leaning bullish neutral. I think it's been extremely resilient. And for now, I'm impressed. But obviously, I'll play the pivot, guys. Pivot breaks to the downside. You get the downtrend. I'm playing SPX puts. You get to the upside, we'll play SPX calls. And you know the drill, essentially. All right, let's take a look at Apple. One thing that really sucks is we have all those spreads on the SPX and they're all on credits, they're all paid for, but unless you get a decent move today, they're going to be on both sides out of the money. That's okay. They're not, there's no risk associated with them, but would have been nice to get a little bit bigger of a move. Anyways, Apple guys, pivot to the downside today is going to be 138.46, unable to hold 136.51 and 134.59, able to hold. We got room towards 139.55 to 141.12 on the upside. Overall on Apple, going to be leaning bearish neutral if that pivot point is unable to hold. So we'll see what happens in that regard. Right now, you're back below. Obviously, you're below EMA support. You did fill the gap yesterday. You don't have a ton of bullish sort of price action. Now you do have the uptrend off the lows holding. I can draw that for you. There we go. I guess it's actually breaking at the moment, but we'll see what happens on the open. But keep an eye on that level. That's going to be the most important one. I'm going to take a screenshot of this. Let's take a look at Amazon. So uptrend is actually breaking at the moment. Just an FYI. Let's take a look at Amazon. 89.94 pivot to the upside today on Amazon. I should say downside. Unable to hold room towards 88.02 to 86.67. Able to hold 91.44 to 93.39 on the upside will be tested. Going to be leading on the bearish neutral side today. Looking for continuation lower if the pivot point is unable to hold. That is Amazon. Let's take a look at Netflix. We'll screenshot this. So again, Netflix, a little bit of a pullback here. 262.73 pivot, unable to hold. We got room towards the 256.68 to 252.64. Able to hold 271.36 to 279.60 on the downside. Right now, going to be leaning on the bearish side only if that pivot is unable to hold out the gate. If it does, obviously uptrend will be intact. You get a little. Actually, you know, I'm going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side, because it is still above the pivot. So as long as the pivot holds, I should say, then I look for continuation back to the upside on the name. So that is Amazon. Sorry, that is Netflix. What I'm saying. We did Meta already, so we don't need to do that again. Which we know how that thing looks, which is pretty decent. Let's take a look at Google. $88.26 pivot to the downside today. Levels unable to hold. 86.54 to 84.62 will be tested. Able to hold 89.70 to 91.65 on the upside. Overall on Google, going to be leaning bearish, looking for a continuation pull to the downside today if that pivot point is unable to hold. So that is Google. All right, let's take a look at the VIX, Qs, and IWM, guys. VIX. Always like to look at this every single day. Gives you direction on the market. We saw that divergence yesterday that was happening with the VIX, VXX into the end of the, or I guess the middle of the day with the market, and then we got that huge unwind that did occur. So we got to watch for that type of price action again. The pivot on the upside today on the VIX is 26.01. Levels able to hold 27.40 will be tested. Unable to hold 20.46 to the 23.59. Not leaning any direction. I just use this for direction on the market. But if you wanted to look at the trend of the VIX, obviously you can see the trend is, I believe, broken. Let's see. No, not quite yet. Looks like getting close though. Just gonna draw it. I can't see it completely with my eyes. Yeah, okay, so it is broken. So you do have a break of the trend right now. It's holding above it. We'll see if that continues to be the case and it breaks back above that pivot point, but that's what we're looking for right now on the VIX. It did reclaim short-term EMA support on the daily. That's easy to see. which, if it was another chart, I'd say it's, more on the bullish side right now. Watch that pivot point. All right, let's take a look at the Qs. So Qs, test the uptrend on the daily off the lows, big level. So pivot to the downside today, 267.97. Levels able to hold. They got room for continuation where it's 270.88 to 272.90. Unable to hold 265.20, 265.57 to 263.42 on the downside. Overall on Q is going to be leading on the bearish neutral side today if that pivot point is unable to hold. All right, Qs, that's that. Let's take a look at IWM. $180.31 pivot. This level is able to hold 183.02 to 185.93 will be tested. Unable to hold 179.60 to 174.51. Sorry, 174.91 on the downside. Overall on the IWM, I actually like IWM. I think the small caps have looked good. Still got a flag on the daily chart. EMA support still intact. 50 EMA is still intact. So be leaning more on the bullish side, looking for a retest of that pivot point to the upside today. And we'll see if we can get above it. If we do, we can get a little bit of a push there. So I think it looks pretty darn good. Actually do the SMH for us, guys. You still got some time here, just because I had, obviously some more time to kill this morning. So we started a little bit earlier than when I typically come on. But SMH, let's take a look at that. Get that 50 EMA still intact. That looks good. Pivot points, EMA resistance or support, I should say. $195.97 pivot to the upside today on the SMH. Levels able to hold. 199.51 to 204.91 will be tested. Unable to hold 192.10 to 188.56. Now, semiconductors have looked pretty decent in the short term. It was a little extended to the upside yesterday, did fill the gap. Key level to hold here is going to be the 50 MA, and we'll see what they're able to do. So let's take a look at NVIDIA as well, because this chart I think is super important. You did get that gap fill on the daily. I love the look still. We still have those longer term contracts on in the swing chat, and I will not sell them. And I told you guys, I think it was like, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, and I gave you my price targets for all the semiconductors in the next month, and so far so good. I think I had 154 on NVIDIA, 153, something like that. So it's getting into that gap area, and we'll see how it holds up today. Kind of a little bit of weakness yesterday after that little gap up, but that's fine. Let's take a look at this daily chart here. So we have the 144.08 level as your pivot level holds. You get rewards 145.87 to 149.49. Unable to hold 140.53 to 137.48 on the downside will be tested. Overall on NVIDIA, I'm going to be leaning more on the bullish neutral side today, looking for a hold of that pivot and a push higher if we're able to get back above it. Right now, obviously a little bit of a pullback below it, and we'll see what happens. But it's still holding short-term EMA support, which is good. I'm going to post this in the chart section as I do for you guys on the video. Let's take a quick look at Microsoft as well. There we go. Chart section posted for you. All right, let's take a quick look at Microsoft. Oh, it's actually stayed pretty flat, so pretty similar to the market. It's a good idea to see where this thing's at. KKK. I got to delete one line here. Get rid of this. Oops, no. There we go. There we go. Okay, so Microsoft, guys. Pivot to the downside today, 228.92. Levels unable to hold 225.98 to 223.46. Able to hold, we got room for continuation back towards 232.28 to 235.96 on the upside. Overall on Microsoft, going to be leaning on the bearish neutral side today if that pivot point is unable to hold. That's going to be the key there. And last but not least, guys, I think we'll take a quick look at AMD. Go on, one more semiconductor on the board. And it's starting to curl up too. A bad look. $62.80 pivot, levels able to hold 65.10, unable to hold 60.89 to 60 or to 59.58 will be tested on the downside. And I'd be leaning more on the bearish neutral side of this name today. It looks like it wants to come in slightly more, and then I think you'll bounce off of the uptrend a little bit. All right, so that's the SPY, the FANG, the individual names that we're looking at, as well as some other names on the side. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to South Beach, guys, as I type up the pre-market action plan. Then we'll do a quick little recap before the open, and we'll be ready to go. South Beach, if you're ready, she's all yours for now.
All right, hey guys. Okay, interesting night, interesting tape. Let's see how we can skin the cat today. All right. 10 years basically unchanged at 414, 2 years 467, 53 basis points separates the two. Recession scenario is ruling the roost for the bond traders. Okay. Let's see what London looks like. Their 10 year is 351. Take away that 450 spike, and it's kind of, I don't know, kind of like near the top of the range, let's say. Flat curve, same in Germany, but their bond is only 223. Clearly, they're subsidizing their population with low rates because of all the pain they're incurring in other areas. All right. Other than that, rates are a little bit lower across the board. Clearly, negative rates are abundant everywhere because inflation's running between 8 and 10%, and bonds are a lot lower than that. Okay, so that's the bond market. Let's look at commodities. We have oil down a little bit, nothing significant. Dollar in the U.S. crude, but overseas it's a $0.50. Natural gas is below 6 again. 583 down 30 cents. So a lot of volatility there for sure, right? 9, 5, 5 to 9, back to 5, back to 7, it's all over the place. Gold is down a little bit. I guess the dollar is strong. We'll see in a minute. As far as agricultural commodities, these guys are really staying in a pretty tight trading range, which by and large is pretty good for companies, right? Because they can do their planning or what have you. Okay, so currencies, we saw that gold was down. So of course, dollar's up against North America. It's up against the yen at 146, down from a high of 151. Let's use 150 as the high. So down a little bit, nothing major. But their rates are 0.25. I mean, what do they expect, right? Chinese currency, 7.25, no change there. Euro's trading at par, and the pound is 114. I expect the volatility in the currency market to be a lot less than it has been. Okay, let's look at crypto. We got Bitcoin down 3 and change. Ethereum down 7.5%, and Solana down 21%. So, I did a little digging here, and basically Solana was a FTX, push. They basically are. So I have a relative in this market in a big way, and he was telling me that the big fund that he's in is probably the biggest fund, and though they're in bed with Sam Bankman-Fried and Solana, it's like a triumphant. So you're seeing these losses in Solana because Sam Bankman, I think he owns either 33 or 36 million tokens for Solana. So that one's really getting plugged. So that's crypto. And let's look at the foreign markets. FTSE's flat, DAX is down 0.5%, CAC, who gives a shit. Nikkei's down 0.5%, China's down, like about 0.75%, and Hong Kong's down 1.2%. So much for saying, banks, you got to buy stocks because clearly they're not paying attention. Taiwan's up 2%. That's interesting. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so banks and Fed. Fed Williams came out this morning, said inflation is running way above their goal, and it's important of 2%, and it's important to get it down to that goal. So what does that mean? It means higher for longer. That's basically what it means to me. Okay, so that's the banks and the Fed. China, they're trying to come up with financing for developers to make this real estate situation that they have, which is a complete fiasco, a little bit better. Maybe they can kick the can down the road. But China's got its set of problems, right? Everybody does. It just seems that theirs is like suppression of people is not working out so well for them. People are up in arms about the zero COVID policy, et cetera, et cetera. I touched on it yesterday. And also they decided to extend the lockdown in iPhone City. So the place is a mess. So that's China, right? Russia. So the fighting there has, continues to be intense, kind of sort of like a stalemate, not much movement on either ground. The drones continue. There are no real peace talks. The beat goes on, right? The US is actually having nuclear talks with Russia in the next few weeks, which is a positive, I guess. Also in Russia, which is kind of interesting, is he's surrounded himself with all these hardliners that one of the things that came out last night is any oligarch that is not endorsing the current Russia-Ukraine situation, these hardliners want them to take their money away, take their businesses away, et cetera, et cetera. So Russia, the world's a mess, let's face it, okay? Got a lot of nasty shit out there. So that's Russia. Anyway, oil market, we kind of discussed. Look, recession comes, prices should come down, but you never know for sure. Okay, because supply demand is what really calls the shots. And if China were to get rid of their zero COVID policy, you can see a spike up in crude. So we'll see how that plays out. Crypto, my sense on crypto is it's a whole facade, charade. Okay. Basically, with this easy money policy, people put money into a lot of BS. Okay. You see it how the SPACs are all trading near zero. You see what happened to crypto. You see what happened to the VC investments, by and large. You see what happened to high PE stocks. I mean, easy money, it's like everything is high tide. And when the tide goes out, you see the emperor's got no clothes on. Okay. And that's what basically is happening in all this speculative crap. And if there's a lesson to be learned here, it would be try to stay in high quality stuff. Because this low quality stuff, even like a stock like Snowflake, which everybody said, the Wall Street marketing machine was humping the crap out of this stock like it was nirvana. and they got it up to 400, and it's down, what, 75%? I mean, even that, it got up to 450 or whatever it is. So there's no place to hide when valuations are insane, and they are coming back to reality, and we'll see, that should start, a new, bull market if they come down low enough. It's that simple. Okay. Dollar, we discussed Mr. Market yesterday. So we had a really great trading market. But the one thing that was kind of really interesting to me was we had that down move late in the day, kind of like, remember we had on Friday, we had the opposite. They had that, we had that hard down move, and then Spartan caught that up move in the last 20 minutes. So you're getting like these air pockets in the market where they do these giant moves in a very short period of time. And what does it tell you guys? It tells you can't take your eye off the ball. You can't so much as scratch your ass. You have to watch your positions all day long. And the move is just, these air pockets are out there everywhere. So yesterday we had the utility, what was yesterday, Tuesday? So Bitcoin was crappy, we know. Big oil and gas was kind of crappy. High PE tech stocks, semis, golden materials, fertilizers, hotels, solar, etc. will go. Okay, so what I think, the market, you just have to be on your toes. You have to have stops out there because the movements are so vicious that if you don't, you can really get your brains bashed in. Okay, so trade them tight. That's what it tells me. Okay, so that's group, Mr. Market, and group rotation I just gave you. All right, so let's talk about the election. All right, so it appears as though the House will go by the way of the Republicans, and the Senate is too close to call. Probably, yeah, I'm doing that now, Joe. Probably either split or slightly staying with Democrats. It's hard to say, but the Democrats had a much better showing than people anticipated. Okay, so yeah, you're gonna have that Georgia runoff, etc. That's with the football player, right? Is that the one you're talking about, Twins? Anyway, here's my read on the whole thing, guys. I think it's the beginning of the end for Donald Trump, actually. You guys may not agree with me. You may not be happy about it. Some of you are going to be really happy about it. Others of you won't be happy about it. But clearly, the guys who hitched their horses to Trump's wagon didn't do as well as expected. Let's put it that way. Okay. And my sense is that the new leader of the Republican Party is the DeSantis. Okay. That's my sense. All right. And I think Trump is done. And everybody's going to have an opinion on whether it's good or bad. Some of you love him, some of you hate him. No one's on him. You either love him or you hate him. So that's not for me to, my opinion is irrelevant on him as a person or as a leader, but my observation is very succinct. He's finished. That's what I think. Okay. And the Republican Party needs to dial back some of the far right shit that they've done, and they'll be just fine. But I think the abortion issue was a really bad thing for them. And I think that, what was the other thing that was really bad for them? The abortion thing for sure. And, but I don't know how you get that genie back in the bottle. And the guys and the deniers of the election, the pre-presidential election, I think that was a big factor. So that's my read. All right, Trump will fade into the dust with all his nonsense, and DeSantis is a rising freight train. He clobbered the guy in Florida. He's very well liked here, and we'll see how it goes. So that's it that's my read on the election. Okay. Hopefully it'll stay a House wins, because I do like gridlock, and I think that's a real positive. And we'll see. So as long as the Republicans control one of the two houses of government, I think everything's just fine. Okay. So we'll see how that goes. All right. So that's my read on the election. All right, what else happened? Musk sold $4 billion worth of stock. Maybe he needed it for the Twitter. I'm not really sure. FTX will be bankrupt by next week. 100%, Trump. Rob, I agree with you. 100% on that one. Okay, Russian nuclear arm talks. I said FTX and Binance deal is subjective. It's not a done deal. Okay. And what we found out last night is that the head of Binance, I think they call him CZ, and Sam Bankman-Fried really don't like each other. Sam Bankman was his protege, left and started his own thing, got a lot of notoriety, et cetera, et cetera. And I guess it pissed CZ off. And what he does, whether he goes through the deal or not, I'm not quite sure. But either way, I think FTX is bankrupt. If he doesn't do the deal, FTX is bankrupt. And I don't see why he would do the deal, because it's going to, why buy it? It can go nothing and you don't have to lay out shit. I mean, what do they need? What do they need FTX for? So that's the story there. And like I said, crypto to me was something created by bad guys to wash money. In fact, it came out last week that Iran washed $8 billion through crypto. That doesn't surprise me. So that's that. What else do we have here? Investment banking job cuts right across the board. Last night it was Barclays, Citibank. They're all laying off people. Nothing really going on in that field. Sam Bankman-Fried lost his $16 billion fortune in days. So much for him being the next Warren Buffett. China, I told you, extended the lockdown. Jeremy Siegel is, saying that he sees the market surging 2,000 points when the Fed does pivot. And this period after a midterm election is usually a very bullish period for stocks. So let's not lose sight of that. All right. And valuations, although they're not cheap, they're a lot better than they were. So, if they do pivot, I think you can get a nice rally. All right. Goldman does not see a housing crash, even though there are higher rates. Disney was down on margin pressure, and today Kramer is saying that the head guy there, Bob Chapek, should be fired. He's delusional. He did a terrible job. He has the same team that his predecessor has, and they should have done a lot better, and he needs to go. But looking at the reality of things, they just gave this guy a new contract, right? And they gave him the chairman and CEO spot. So I would doubt that the board pivots that fast. We'll see how it goes. That's really it on that front. Okay. Let's look at earnings. So, my take on these earnings, when you look at the array of stocks that are doing well, that beat earnings and missed, the up stocks are, the points up are, look, the best one last night was TTD. It's up 4. Okay. How many stocks are down more than 4? Jack Henry, and the diversity of the companies that are missing is very eye-opening. Okay. So like, if you look at this, Upstart, okay, they're that, what they do. Okay. That's one area, and a firm, they both missed. Okay. Roblox, a software company, missed. It's down 6. Lucid, an EV company, down $1. Oxy looked like they had good numbers. It's down 2. A housing company, DHI, down $1. A trucking company, Jack Henry, down 16. A restaurant, Sweet Green, down 1. DAR, a environmental cleanup company, down 4. Lemonade, an insurance company, down $1. Good RX, look, it's not like an industry play. It's just like everybody. Doesn't matter what you do, and the losers are, trump the winners like 3-1 on points. So, when you start seeing stocks not going down on bad news, we've hit the bottom. We're not seeing that yet. Okay. So which ones did well on the long side? You have this Capri, which is a high-end retailer. You had TTD, Sandus, SFM, Sprouts Market, or whatever it's called. Cala was decent. That MACK had positive data. Meta is up a bunch because they laid off 13% of their workforce, or 11,000 plus people. I mean, that's sad. Okay, all these FANG stocks are laying off people. What does that tell you? It tells you the growth rate is a lot lower than we think, because these guys see further down the road than we do. So, these stocks with a big hype, they're overowned, and you got to stay in the real vanilla stuff. That's the stuff that's been working. Okay, Zendesk laid off 500 people. It's just like, this tech industry is a shit show. And that's how it goes, right? Most of these layoffs are in California. I don't know how many, but I would bet 80% twins. That would be my number. I would think 80%, more or less, maybe a little less. On the short side, we had Upstart, Roblox, Affirm, Disney shit the bed, Oxy we discussed, GoodRx, Sweet Green, a bunch of them. TD, what else do we have? The ELBM had bad news. They're doing an offering. These crypto stocks are all down today. Tonight we have Rivian, Beyond Beef, Letter U, Win, Bumble, Bros, Green Dot and Cano, and mañana prior to the opening. What's tomorrow? Thursday? Neo, RL6, TPR, Wix. That's really it. Okay, so today we'll see how it goes. I think we'll see how the numbers come out from the election. That may move stuff a little bit, but by and large, we had a pretty decent run. And earnings suck, so people are, and we had a decent run. So just be careful. All right, we know we came in pretty flat, so let's see how the market directs us. That's, I think, the best way to go. And we have the CPI tomorrow, which is going to be major. All right, and that's it for me. And Spartan, it's all yours.
All right, thank you, South Beach guys. Morning, what's going on? So if you guys are new to chat, haven't already done so, make sure to click on that new to chat information section, give it a read. If you're coming in from the free Discord, leave the server, then click the link that we did email to you. You pop in chat, like I said, looks like this. What's going on with my Discord? Can't scroll. My shift button down or something? That was. Okay, new to chat information section, scroll to the top, give it a read from top to bottom. Disclaimer section, risk reward, go through this. Most important thing in trading, guys, got a video here explaining how it works. You got risk reward profiles on top, which you can use to match what your account says, as well as your risk reward threshold, and then risk reward calculator below that. They calculate risk reward on the go very quickly. Below this, we got the summary of how this chat works, breaks down the channels works. You can properly navigate the chat through the day. Continue to scroll down, you have how to read alerts on the options and equity side, breaking down how to read alerts on both sides. Below that, the options rules that we use every single day from Monday to Thursday. And that basically just breaks down how to follow along on those ideas. We also have the SPX rules below this. Make sure to give that a read as well. Continue to scroll down, and with small account less than 10K, breaking down if you do have a smaller account less than 10K. Here's some rules, information, discipline you can look in place. You can better manage your account, how to pick trades from an options or equity perspective below that. And lastly, any issues, you can follow the high conviction small account area. All right, let's take a look at what we got going on today, guys. Pre-market tickers on watch, a couple different things. Obviously, the pre-market plans posted. If you guys are watching the YouTube stream, you can just simply pause it and give this a read. There you go. There you go. There you go. All right, all the charts are posted as well, of course. A couple different things we're looking at today, guys. Tesla, AXON, MSTR, Meta, RBLX, UPST. So Tesla gapping up, or was gapping up a little bit. It's up like 20 cents or something like that now. Elon files Form 4, sold $4 billion worth of Tesla on the 4th. Axon earnings beat EPS and revs year growth 34.4%. 2022 guidance EPS raised, stocks gapping up. MSTR gapping down in continuation of Bitcoin volatility. Meta fires up to 1,100 employees, gapping up. RBLX earnings miss, revs and EPS gapping down on earnings, UPST. Let's take a look at these names from a technical standpoint intraday. First two we're looking at today, guys. The Tesla, that Axon. Let's have a gander. So Tesla, guys, gapping down slightly now. Pivot to the downside today, 195.34, unable to hold 190.84 to 186.27 breaks, 182.03 will be tested, able to hold 198.72 to 204. 02 on the upside. Overall on Tesla, guys, going to be leaning on the bullish side only if that pivot can be reclaimed. If it's not reclaimed this morning, obviously it's going to go lower in my opinion, right? AXON pivot to the upside today is 166, levels able to hold. You got room towards 168.50. That breaks 171.80 will be tested, unable to hold 162.52 to 159.74 on the downside, leaning on the bullish neutral side there. Let's take a look at MSTR and Meta. MSTR 198.18 pivot, levels unable to hold 187.37 to 177.31, able to hold 211.61 to 222.74 on the upside will be tested. Overall on MSTR going to be leaning bearish, looking for continuation lower if pivot cannot hold. Meta pivot upside today is going to be the 102.60 level. That level is able to hold. You got room for continuation to 104. 89 to 107.95, unable to hold 99.53 to 96.60, leading bullish on Meta, looking for a reclaim of the pivot and a push higher. I actually love the look of this, guys. RBLX, UPST, let's take a look at these two. RBLX pivot to the upside today, 33.08, levels able to hold 34.58 to 36.43, unable to hold 31.79 to 26, sort of 29.63 on the downside. Overall, going to be leaning on the bullish neutral side of, bearish neutral side of RBLX if that pivot point is unable to hold. So we'll see what happens in that regard, my friends. Okay. Let's see what else we got. UPST pivot 1597, levels able to hold 1756 to 2001, unable to hold 1421 to 1267, leading bearish on that, looking for continuation lower if pivot cannot be reclaimed. Let's take a look at the SPY and the FANG market, guys. Pivot to the, I'm going to write this out as I usually do, because I'm leaning more on the bullish side. SPY 380.44 pivot to the upside today. Upside today. This level holds. Room higher into the 380, 388 resistance breaks. We see the 386.99 tested. Pivot unable to hold. Room lower into the 378.05 support breaks. We see the 376.15 tested. Any bullish? Neutral. If the pivot point can hold, yeah, any bullish neutral. All right, let's take a look at Apple. Pivot to the downside today is going to be 138.46, levels unable to hold towards 136.51 to 134.59, able to hold 139.55 to 141.12. Upside leaning bearish if the pivot's unable to hold, and that uptrend, of course, on the daily. 89.94 pivot on Amazon, levels unable to hold 88.02 to 86.67, able to hold 91.44 to 93.39, leaning on the bearish neutral side if pivot can't hold there as well. Netflix be testing the uptrend off the lows, the recent range lows, I should say. 262.73 pivot, levels able to hold 271.36 to 279.90 will be tested. Unable to hold 256.88 to 252.64 on the downside on Netflix. Going to be meeting on the bullish neutral side today if pivot can hold. Let's take a look at Google. Forgot to post on this as well. One sec, guys. There we go. Let's take a look at Google here. So Google pivot to the downside today, 88.26, able to hold 89.70 to 91.65, unable to hold 86.54 to 84.62. Leaning bearish if pivot breaks. And then last but not least, guys, let's take a look at the VIX, Qs, and IWM. VIX pivot upside today is going to be 26.01, level holds 27.40, unable to hold 24.86 to 23.59. QQQs pivot to the upside today is going to be the 267.97, level holds 270.88 to 272.90 will be tested, unable to hold 265.57 to 263.42 on the downside. Leaning bullish only if pivot can hold there. And then IWM, guys, pivot to the downside today is 180.31, unable to hold 176.90 to 174.91. able to hold 183.02 to 185.93 on the upside, leaning bearish on that if the pivot is unable to hold as well. So that's a SPY, it's a FANG. Those are the individual names that we're looking at today, guys. We'll see what happens. Yeah, should be interesting. Anyways, guys, that's the YouTube stream. Thanks for popping in this morning. You guys want to come trade with us, you can certainly do so. Go to the website, spartantrading.com, sign up there. And yeah, we're streaming live all the entire day. We'll see what happens today, guys. I'm thinking that we're going to get some pretty killer SPX trades again. As long as that range holds.